So after Jesus feeds the 5,000 on the mountain in John chapter 6, the people get so riled up to the point that they want to physically take him and make him be their king. But we read that Jesus withdrew again to the mountain by himself alone, John 6:15. And we went over a pretty similar passage in Luke's gospel account a couple Sundays ago where we read that even though Jesus was beginning to attract great crowds because of his healings, Luke makes it a point to say that Jesus himself would often slip away into the wilderness and pray. That's Luke 5:16. And there's a few similarities that I saw within these passages. The one most obvious one is that Jesus is withdrawing himself from situations where the people are only focused on physical things. I think that's pretty obvious. The other thing is Jesus could have easily withdrawn himself to other areas to gather more crowds, but he spends time alone in peace. And we had a great sermon here not too long ago about the importance of intentionally seeking peace, which is, again, an obvious theme here. So I wanted to kind of focus on something slightly different, which is what places Jesus chose to go in these situations, right? When Jesus wanted to spend time alone or time with the Father, he often chose to withdraw from the human-built cities and go into nature. We see him at the mountain. We see him in the wilderness, in the garden. And I think there's something pretty important for us as well in that, because at least for me, creation always has a way of pointing me back to the Creator. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. I was home this past weekend. I was sitting on the beach, driving between Los Angeles and San Diego, seeing the mountains on my left, the shoreline on my right, going through the hills. It's just a different feeling. It's kind of hard to put into words unless you're obviously a Christian and believe in God. I think it's a common serenity that all people kind of experience that isn't possible to replicate in things that are made by man. And in my opinion, this is one of the most powerful arguments that God is real and he is all powerful, is that there's a flawless explanation for exactly what this serenity is and where it comes from. In Romans 1:20, Paul writes, "For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so that they are without excuse." Right? So there's something about the earth that reveals God's power, his wisdom, and his glory. And these attributes are invisible to our eyes, but we can clearly see them and understand them through creation. But the story doesn't just end with this invisible God revealing his glory to us through creation. That glory was also made visible to human eyes when Jesus entered the world. John says that all things were made through Jesus. Without him was not anything made that has been made. And he says that Jesus became flesh, dwelt among us, and we saw his glory. Glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Right? So the God whose invisible attributes were revealed through creation made his glory visible to humanity in Christ. So when we look at creation, I think it should be a reminder to all of us, first of all, of God's infinite power and goodness, but also of Jesus' glory, his eternal presence, and his life on this earth. If you haven't followed God's will for you to be baptized into Christ and raised to walk in a new life, or if you need support of any kind, then please feel free to come forward as we stand and sing this invitation song.